Finally, we're on part 3 here, and that's, of course, the specialty post of the week, and we're all WrestleMania themed up until the review of WrestleMania. So why not do Superstar Scores? And at the time when I booked my plans for the next few weeks and everything, we didn't know pretty much anybody who was going to go into the Hall of Fame except for Mick Foley, and he's one of the reasons why I picked this episode for him. There's actually a couple of other reasons why, and I want to kind of toss that out before we begin. Another reason why is because Mick Foley is one of my favorite people of all time in wrestling. So, I did Shawn Michaels first because of his. Uh, Everybody put him as their number one for the top rope list the previous week. And because he's my favorite of all time, Mick Foley's another one. So I wanted to do him first off. Obviously, it's going to take a hell of a long time before we start doing superstar scores for people like Bart Gunn and other people that don't really matter a whole lot.
I would like to see somebody who actually voted for Bart Gunn.
Oh, come on. He won
Brawl for All.
Yeah, Brawl for All. Give him some slack.
And he got knocked the fuck out by Butterbean, too.
Yeah, well, who hasn't been knocked the fuck out by Butterbean?
Me?
Only the people who haven't fought him.
So that was those were the two main reasons, and then another one that rounds out the three reasons why I really did this was the scoring. I'm going to tell you ahead of time. It's going to seem like I'm not really that great of a fan of Mick Foley, but that's because, and I'll go over this later on. That's because the scoring system is meant for somebody who you can break down technicalities for, and Mick Foley is not that type of a person. So, prefacing that, we're going to go section by section, and I'll tell you a little bit about what each section means when we get to it, and we're all going to kind of discuss what our ratings for Mick Foley are. So there's two parts for each section, and the first section is in-ring skills, and the first section of that is athleticism. Now, this is basically their move set, their finisher. Can they perform a wide variety of moves? Do they botch a lot? That kind of a thing. Essentially, this is kind of like the Shawn Michaels being a number 10 out of an athleticism, and somebody like Great Khali being number 1. So I actually gave Mick Foley a 2 out of this because he doesn't really do anything high flying or anything like that. You don't see him performing different moves, essentially. He kind of has a very rudimentary move set, and it's not outside of the word immobile. He's not the worst like Great Khali, who would get like a 0, but he does still rank really low. So do you guys agree it's kind of like a 2, or do you guys want to give him a 9?
Yeah.
I would give him a little bit higher. I mean, if you only saw him in the
too.
WWE, I can understand it. But if you've seen him in his early career, he was very, very mobile, and he was doing a lot of innovative stuff. It's just that his body getting hurt eventually caught up to him, and by the time he got to WWE, he was already pretty immobile, and then he took that bump off Hell in a Cell, and he was just never the same after that.
I give him about a 3 to 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a 4.
Yeah, I would say 4 is pretty good.
I don't want to insult the man. I hear he's a really nice guy.
Oh, he's a fucking great guy. I interviewed him for the website one time, and and I met him one time in front of a Phillies game one time. But amazing guy, and if this was a 1 out of 100 scale for personality, he gets a fucking 100. The guy's amazing. So
this is athleticism,
right? Yeah,
this is a good guy.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, we'll touch upon that a little bit later too. Psychology is the second part of ring skills, and that's the storytelling ability. Can they keep a long match going without it getting boring? Do they sell their injuries, or are they somebody like a John Cena who sometimes just kind of, you weren't working on that arm the whole match? Fuck that. So I would give him a 6 out of that because he, I actually probably should give him higher than that.
He's like an 8 for
yeah, I was just
he was a
I'm gonna give him
master
an 8.
psychologist in the ring.
I'm gonna give him an 8 instead.
Yeah.
So that's actually gonna boost my score up at the end. I gotta remember that. He really does. You feel in the match Mick Foley getting those chair shots and all that it matters, and you cheer for him.
You share his emotion. He is a master psychologist in the ring.
Yeah,
he just got it.
So I'm giving him
that portion of working. So,
what do you guys think?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
8
absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah, I give him a 9 actually, not just because of his ability to take things on the defense, but even when the emotion you could feel from him on the offense. I mean, those sounds he used to make,
The desperation, the anger, you could feel it all. I mean, he, as I said, he just got it. It was fucking came natural to him.
Yeah.
One of the best.
The second group is mic skills, and that is charisma and character. So charisma, first off, can they cut a promo without stuttering? Are they repetitive? Do they keep things fresh?
Oh,
You know,
yes.
that kind of a thing. 9 out of that. If there's one thing that he might not be the most athletic person, but he is damn good on the mic.
One hell of a talker, and I'd give him a full 10 for mic skills. Like some of his early like his promos he did for ECW, like when he did the whole, what was it, the heel turn where he went anti-hardcore.
The Kane Dewey promo. I mean, that is one of the best promos I've ever seen in my life.
And a lot of his like Mankind stuff too. It's just holy shit.
The
guy
early
could cut a
Mankind
promo.
stuff when he would sit huddled down and he would cut those monologues
He'd
talking
make you
about
think
the early days of man and all
yeah.
that. Oh my gosh.
You thought he was insane.
See, the only reason I didn't give him a 10 is because I try to make the 10s like astronomical to reach.
Yeah, I know, but I think he's an exception. Like
I think he's the standard.
Yeah, like as far as like great promo people, Foley is up there with the best of them. Like an Austin or a Rock or whoever else you want to put up there as some of the best promo people ever. Foley's right up there. I mean, he's no slouch. In terms of charisma and cutting a promo, there are very few people better than him. He deserves a 10.
I actually have a little note on the website that for this and another thing that it's like I really, if I could give him a 9.5, if I did the point thing, then I would do that. Does anybody think that it should be lower? Or?
No,
I think
no. If you're gonna go any lower than 10, it's a 9. I mean, great promo guy, no doubt about it.
All right, so that brings us to the next section, which is out of the mic skills, the character. Obviously, that's the gimmick. Is it interesting? Can they pull off being a heel and a face? That kind of stuff. Foley is. This is a weird thing. I'm going to feel a little weird about this. I only gave him a 7. Now, that seems really low, considering, the faces of Foley and all that kind of stuff. And the main reason I gave him a 7 was I personally think that the Dude Love gimmick was entertaining and rather like, it was like the stupid gimmick. It wasn't supposed to be somebody who's going to win a main event and all that other kind of stuff. So I give a little bit of deduction, the fraction of a deduction for that. But the biggest deduction to me is Cactus Jack.
Really?
I personally am not a fan of the Cactus Jack character. I think it's essentially just Mick Foley. And I like Mick Foley better than Cactus Jack. So I love Mick Foley. I loved Mankind. I thought Dude Love was funny and all that other kind of stuff. But I have a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth from Cactus Jack. And that's why I gave him a 7 out of that. I can totally see everybody else giving him higher, though. And I would not.
In defense of... Oh, God.
Well, I was just going to say, I love the Cactus character, even though it is basically an accentuation of Mick Foley's personality when he's crazy hardcore mode. Mm-hmm. Some of the early promos of his career that we're talking about that we love so much were done as Cactus Jack. Yeah, that's the character that made you think he was basically insane.
I would not argue against people saying that it needs to be higher. This is me being harsh, is what I already know. Like, so I know everybody's going to disagree.
And then Dude Love was Dude Love, and nobody ever took it too seriously, and it was entertaining, and it did its purpose. And then Mankind was, probably easily his. I don't know, because I really liked his Cactus Jack character too, but I guess that was used in the WWE/F or whatever for a long period of time. Mankind's his best character, whereas Cactus was his best character in like other promotions. So for me, for pulling off gimmicks, I give him a 10 still, easily.
Yeah. In defense of the Dude Love gimmick, it was meant to humanize the man Mick Foley. Mostly up to that point, he was this deranged monster Mankind, and because they had the Dude Love character, it's what allowed Mankind to be a little bit more of a humanized character and connect with the audience at the level that he did. If he didn't do Dude Love, I don't know if that ever would have been able to happen. Cactus Jack, it was what it was. That's what launched him there. It was just the character that he came up with and started with himself, and it wasn't until he got the creative minds over at the WWE to pair with him to come up with Mankind, which ultimately became, I think we're all in agreement, his best gimmick that he ever had.
Yeah.
But I think he took every single one of these gimmicks that he had and ran with it the best
And
that he could have. He made every
that's
single one of them work. Even Dude Love. I mean,
Yeah.
he had some really fun moments. I mean, like I was just watching the Best of Raw DVD the other day, and it was the first lockup between Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin, which has all this build up, and the tension just keeps going and going, and all of a sudden Dude Loves music hits and he comes out and everything just gets deflated. It's like and it's like the ultimate trolling, and yet it was still fun, and it
Yeah,
was
it's
what
like
it was.
you would never argue that Santino, despite playing his character for a number of years, does a good job with the gimmick.
Oh
He does
yeah,
a really good job with the gimmick. It's the same thing with the Dude Love character. You know, it's not meant to be taken seriously, and it's entertaining. And he does it well.
exactly.
He's done
Yeah.
every gimmick well in his career. No matter what he's done, he's pulled it off.
Right.
If some of them were not entertaining and they kind of fell flat, then we'd be talking. But I think he's done exceptional work throughout all of his career. I think Mankind alone is enough to warrant a high number. I mean, that gimmick was brilliant.
Yeah, the how much the Mankind character changed. Like I said, when he first came in, he was that deranged monster type character, and by the end, Mankind was basically Mick Foley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm going with Braden with a 10.
Brandon.
See, I was a fan of Cactus Jack, but I could see what you're saying. There really is not much depth to the character. But when he's doing Mankind and Dude Love, it just shows how good of an actor he really is. I mean, those early Mankind promos were chilling. They chilled me to the bone when I was 12 years old. So I think it really showed his range as an actor, that he could do this, lunatic character as well as this fun-loving hippie guy, all coming from the same person.
Mm-hmm.
It's truly a talent. So I'm gonna go probably a 9. I wouldn't quite go 10, but definitely 9.
See, I would say that 7 that I gave him, that's like if I gotta throw 7 out there, like I would lean towards like that boost of an 8, that kind of a thing. But we'll get back to me switching my score around a little bit later. This is actually going to be the low point, and this sounds really mean, but it's appearance, physique, and entrance. First off is physique. Sorry, I got to give him a 1. It's just you can't market somebody out of like somebody who's
Now,
like, out of
hold
shape and
on.
stuff.
I'm reading what your criteria is for physique, and it says, are they in the proper shape for their gimmick? And I think that's the very key part of that sentence there. Now, if this was a muscle competition, I would agree he would be a 1, no doubt. But for the Mankind gimmick, is he not the perfect shape for that? I mean, this kind of disheveled, haggard man with deformities on his ear and hair pulled out. I couldn't think
Well,
of
the
a
ear
more
is not
fitting
his
person
choice.
for it.
Conceals his identity behind a mask. Is the misfit of society.
The guy pulled his own hair out. I
don't count that into the physique.
Okay.
I count that more into the gimmick.
Okay.
And the same for like the mask and all that other kind of stuff. The physique is more like what they say with their Mabel went into WWE as he needed to be a huge guy. So if he would have lost a whole lot of weight, then he wouldn't have been a huge guy anymore, and it wouldn't have made any sense. But Matt Hardy, he gained a bunch of weight, and it was like fat Hardy.
If Mick Foley was just another buff guy, I don't think he would have worked at all.
Yeah, you have to be out of shape to really sell off a lunatic gimmick like that.
Plus they also sold him as like an
worked.
everyman.
I think the lunatic gimmick would have worked if he would have been in better shape anyway. But I think that the everyman thing comes out of him already having that physique, not that they would have said like, why don't you try to go for that and we'll go for an everyman thing. I think that's kind of it writes itself based off of what he has. Kind of like when it turns out that somebody like a Stone Cold Steve Austin is that type of person in real life, and they go, "Why don't you just be yourself?" Like that to me isn't as much of a factor. You know what I mean? So I give him a low point for that, but
I don't know. I mean, and one thing to also consider is you look at him and he doesn't look like a man in shape, but I also don't look at him as one of the people who got exhausted in that ring compared to some other people.
I think there's a big misconception between being out of shape and just overweight. You can still be overweight and still be in ring shape and still put on good matches.
Mm-hmm.
If you were out of shape, I don't think you'd be able to put on a match caliber of Mick Foley if you were out of shape. I mean, in terms of being in ring shape, up until like he's basically totally retired now, but when he was relied upon, he was always in ring shape. perfectly. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Bottom line for me is I see where you're coming from. He's not a muscle man, but going off your criteria here, I'm going with that he shouldn't be. I'm that he is pretty much around where I would picture this guy being. So I'm gonna give him a 7.
It makes sense. I mean, one of the reasons why I want to make sure that I do these segments as smack talk stuff instead of just for me, because I want those other opinions to go along. Because you guys are making really good points.
yeah, and I won't go as high as Payton, but I give him like an average of a 5. You know, for what he was. He looked how he was supposed to look, and I think that's a very important factor in all this. So it's definitely good to have contrasting opinions. I mean, that's what makes things fun, right?
Definitely, yeah. Brandon?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what everyone says. He doesn't have to be, jacked to the gills to pull off that gimmick. And he was always in good shape ring wise. There wasn't I don't remember a whole lot of rest holds in Mick Foley matches. I always remember them constantly going. So
it might have been in Randy Orton match, but that's not from
Mhm.
Foley.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, there was not a whole lot of breaks for them, to catch a breath. He was always on the move, and he never disappointed in that. So I'm gonna go with a 6, reasonable 6.
And the other part of the appearance is entrance, and this is the combination of the taunts that they do, the music, the pyro, that kind of stuff. I gave him a middle of the road 5 because his music, they were all pretty general. Mankind's was the one that stands out to me. Dude Love, I mean, you have the hippie thing, you got to go hippie, and it wasn't, that wasn't anything too crazy. Cactus Jack, generic rock. Mick Foley, pretty much generic rock. Mankind was kind of creepy with that symphony kind of thing going on. But
Definitely his best theme.
He doesn't really have like pyro. He doesn't really, the bang bang's the only real thing that he does. He doesn't, flip around like an idiot or, anything crazy like that. So this isn't as much, this is never intended to be as much of a shot against the person themselves. This is just the characters and all that kind of combined.
Yeah. A Mick Foley entrance isn't an Undertaker entrance.
Right, and that's
basically
because
is your point.
Yeah, because that's what they wanted. I mean, he could have come out there and said, "I want pyro all over the fucking place," and been like, "No, that's not what we're gonna do," and that's not his fault. So that kind of balances out later on when the whole this is the person and not the character kind of thing. It's they weigh separately. So I'd go middle of the road 5, and that's a category.
I agree with you there. Middle of the road 5 seems totally like a fine rating to me.
I'm actually going to be a little more negative on this one. I'm giving him a 3. I think the Mick Foley entrance is just awful and boring. I mean, he comes out, it's generic rock track number 10. He raises his fist up in the air, and that's it. It's
bang bang.
It's awful.
No,
he doesn't even always do the bang. He does the bang bang when he does the Cactus Jack entrance. Oh, I guess he does it as like the current Mick Foley.
Yeah,
but I'm thinking of like Mankind with the business suit on Mick Foley. The only reason I'm not giving him a 1 is because the initial Mankind character, once again, which is of course his best gimmick, had the best entrance. He had the symphony music coming in, but I also thought it was really unique how they had a different entrance or a different music for him after he won the match. It had that soft piano riff.
I was hoping somebody would bring that up, and if nobody would have said it, I would have ended it with that, because that is something that I always thought was really interesting. And at the time when I was a kid watching it, I thought that was really weird, and I didn't know at first if I liked it or I hated it. And after a while, I was just kind of like, you know what? It's so different from everything else.
Do you remember why they did that?
No, I actually don't remember about
that. The whole thing is that piano thing is a song that he remembers his mom playing when he was a little kid, and they play it to calm him down because otherwise he would just keep shoving the mandible claw in whoever the person's throat it is. They play that to soothe him and put him back into a relaxed state.
That's an awesome dimension to the character. Holy shit. I didn't even think of it that deeply.
I totally didn't remember that.
I just remember, I don't know why, but I just remember Vince McMahon saying that on Raw one week.
He probably was saying it like this because he had to yell everything.
Yeah.
They play that
He's
because
playing
they
the music. They gotta
calm
calm Mankind down. He's gonna kill him. Somebody play his mama's music.
What do you think, Brandon?
I like Cactus Jack's generic rock music. That's
catchy. I got it on my MP3 player, but
That's a
It's still
great
just
pick.
generic.
But I'm gonna go middle of the road 5, just because, like Mike said, he really doesn't do a whole lot when he comes out. I think half the fun part of his entrance is watching him shamble to the ring because he can't move his legs that well from taking all the shots to the knee.
Poor Mick Foley.
Poor Mick Foley. But
So
no, not so much poor Mick Foley. Guy's a millionaire. Not so much poor Mick Foley.
Then we were on the last two sections of two different groups here, so we got 4 left. Backstage and crowd reaction. Now, in backstage, we have professionalism, 9. And the only reason I didn't give him a 9.5 is because I don't have the 0.5s. And the only reason I didn't give him a 10 is mostly because the 10 is, like I said, it's supposed to be like almost impossible to reach. Foley is. Now, this is actually one of those, the locker room leader, behind the scenes, politics. Do they put people over? That kind of a qualification for this. Foley is somebody that nobody really complains about. The only people that I remember complaining about Foley, from what we've heard from dirt sheets and all that, so of course you have to take that with a grain of salt as well, are Triple H and Ric Flair. And that, I don't really know what their big deal with Foley is, but Foley is somebody who he never seemed to be one of those guys that really cared about his spot on the card, and he kind of went out there to perform. And you don't hear these stories with he do a lot of other people, like even Kofi Kingston. Trent Beretta goes on Twitter, and the one person he calls out is Kofi Kingston, that he was an asshole and all that. Like, you always hear about Randy Orton being an ass. You always hear about the stories that Shawn Michaels did in the past, and so on and so forth with everybody. A lot of people say bad things about John Cena not putting over people and burying them backstage. Nobody really talks about. Nobody talks about Foley that way.
Punk's another one of those guys that supposedly has a bad rep with the guys in the back. He's because of his particularly gruff demeanor.
Right.
But I just think that's just him personally.
It might be. He just rubs people the wrong way and stuff. But Foley's on the line of The Undertaker, where, you're not going to find people talking trash about him. So I would
The
say
only reason I think anybody would have anything bad to say about Foley is because they were on the wrong end of where Mick Foley came to somebody's defense because that person was being an asshole. That's the only way I could see someone having a problem with Mick Foley. Mick Foley is one of the most genuinely awesome people. I constantly hear stories of him giving great advice wherever he can. Whether it's not even just to wrestlers, like life advice. The man's traveled the world and been through more things than probably all of us will in our entire lives combined.
Right.
So I'm giving him a 10 on this.
Anybody going any lower, or sticking at 9,
No,
10s, that kind of stuff?
I don't really need to repeat what needs to be said, but he did everything he was told to do. He didn't care about his spot on the card. He didn't care if he had to lose to an individual. It wasn't all about him. He didn't need to be a top star. He did his job, and he did his job well. And the only real complaints is Ric Flair saying that he should be considered nothing more than a glorified stuntman.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I haven't heard anything, and not even about Triple H being down on him at all. I haven't even heard about that.
Oh, you didn't?
So,
supposedly
no,
the story is
no.
that he always says, like, or that he in the past had always said, Foley's like nothing. We can't really utilize him. Nobody cares. Nobody comes here to watch Mick Foley. That kind of stuff.
That's the IWC trying to get some Triple H hate stirred up.
You never know if it's total bullshit or not, but
Still,
the more you
Foley
hear
gave
about
Triple
stuff,
H some of the best matches of his career.
right?
Like the street fight at was Royal Rumble 2000. That match was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't really think Triple H has any heat with him at all. In fact, Foley helped his career, so I don't see him having any heat with him. The only one is like Ric Flair not really liking what he did in the ring. And to me, that one person criticizing what a wrestler does isn't exactly having a lack of professionalism. That's just somebody criticizing you.
Right.
So from anything that I've ever seen, the guy is just a class act. And
Foley,
he's never been a shit disturber. He's never done this. He's never done that. So for me, he'll get a solid 10 for professionalism in whatever company he was working for.
Have you ever seen somebody exit WWE, go to the competition, and then come back so smoothly as Mick Foley did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they were promoting his book that was coming out while he was still employed by another company called Countdown to Lockdown.
Right.
That's how much they like Mick Foley.
That was the book, by the way, that I interviewed him for. You can check that out on smarkmoment.com. Plug for my own
Cheap
thing
plug.
on my own thing. Yep, following the Mick Foley method of a cheap plug. But yeah, Mick Foley is, and this kind of works into the next category too, marketability. He is amazing when it comes to, he does so much charity work, and he's so good when he goes to like the talk shows and all that other kind of stuff. He promotes the company in such a positive image that, I mean, he's the perfect spokesperson when it comes to keeping that PG image. Despite his character, he is like that guy when it comes to that, because his work with what is it, Child Fund, and I forget off the top of my head a couple other organizations that he works with, but he is there's nothing that we can say that does the man credit for the kind of stuff that he does.
Former Chef Boyardee spokesperson. I mean, you don't get to be a spokesperson for the leading fake Italian food brand in America without being a very likable, marketable, family wholesome guy. So that's I think it's really, it doesn't, and you would really not expect him to be marketable because he's a fat, hairy guy missing an ear and some teeth.
Yeah, they can't promote him in any kind of like the sex angle way. Like you know,
Yeah.
you can do that with John Cena. You can have him come out and take his shirt off while the girls are
Yeah.
gonna watch. You know.
Ladies aren't screaming for Mickles, okay?
Right?
But I
Yeah.
mean, if you're promoting something and you can sell by just how you're talking about something, that's being pretty marketable too. And I think that makes up for not being promoted, because you don't always need to be promoted, and because you look fucking sexy.
Right. Exactly.
I mean,
That's more so the divas.
if you can sell something just by being a good talker, and you do this and you do that, and the charity work, and you sell this because you're good at talking, or you sell that because of just how good you are being able to do that, your marketability is up there pretty darn good.
The best equivalency I can say is to compare him to the type of actors where he's not a Brad Pitt or a Tom Cruise or something like that, where people will necessarily go see just because of like look at like a Channing Tatum. The guy
He's
has a
not
whole
sexy.
career because people like the way that he looks. Meanwhile, you have somebody like a Kevin Spacey who is just that damn good of an actor, and that's why people go see him.
I would equate Mick Foley more to like a Nicolas Cage.
I don't think he's that fucking crazy though. That was just a Mankind character. Nicolas Cage is legit.
Damn, I'm trying to figure out a famous Nicolas Cage quote. Damn it, he's
Not
more
the
Put the bunny back in the box.
he's more of a protector or something like that. That's what it is. I don't remember what. Yeah, but no, like I said, Mick Foley is not a sex symbol by any shape of the means. I think I'm probably more attractive than him. That's just going to toot my own horn. But again, if you ever had somebody to come on to a public talk show where non-wrestling fans are going to be watching, Mick Foley will make your product look very, very credible, because he's an intelligent guy. He knows how to speak well. And
he's captivating. He's got
exactly.
charisma.
Exactly, and he could tell the amount of stories that he could tell are hilarious, and he's cheap. So you can make fun of him for that, and he's like, yeah, he'll admit it, self-deprecating. That's a big personality boost for him.
Yeah, some major points for Mick Foley on that, and that leads us to the last two sections out of the crowd reaction part: popularity and credibility. Popularity, that's basically the merchandise, the ratings from what we could tell, the Twitter followers, the cheers and the boos and all that. You can't really give him a low score when you have so many Foley is God posters.
And not to mention all those Cactus Jacks shirts still going around. The wanted.
Yeah, I mean,
I still see those everywhere.
Yeah, you still go to wrestling events, you'll still see people wearing old school Cactus Jack shirts. You'll see that, and people wearing Austin 316 shirts from 1997.
His shirts are comparable to 316 shirts.
Two shirts that I owned. I actually did own the Cactus Jack one as well, even though I'm not the biggest Cactus Jack fan.
But you like the shirt, and you like
the
Foley.
shirt.
So,
yeah, Foley. So,
so that's all that matters. But yeah,
Right.
I mean,
But that works into the merchandise and all that because I
does.
wasn't even the biggest Cactus Jack fan, and I still wanted the Cactus Jack shirt because of Mick Foley.
I mean, it's a good looking shirt too.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Wanted poster thing on it. So yeah, I would. And you can criticize for the cheap pop or whatever. He's the king of that, but
I actually think that works into his favor because
yeah,
people start getting to
I
the
do
point where
too.
they cheer before he even does the cheap pop nowadays. I mean, he just goes right here, and then it's already like he's gotta say our town's name. Like,
That's where we live.
right.
Yay!
So he
Yeah.
turned, the cheap pop into something that's actually entertaining instead of just
And not to
something that they
mention,
look down
being
on.
the whole everyman thing, it worked especially for him.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, popularity has to be right up there, right? With some
Now
of the best
I
ever.
technically gave him an 8, and that's because to me the 10 spot is reserved for Hulk Hogan and the 9
Ye-
spot is reserved for like a John Cena.
Oh, really?
Whereas
I would give John Cena like an 8. I mean, he's had what, like 50-50 reactions for how long now?
I mean like the overall encompassing
Oh, like
because
drawing
Hogan,
power or whatever. Okay.
tons of people hate Hogan now. So
So would a 10 be also reserved for people like Rock and Austin, so to speak, in
yeah,
terms of
basically.
popularity?
Yeah, those uber fucking
Megastars.
right. So that's why Foley gets an 8, I would say.
And somebody like a Triple H would get like a 7 or an 8 too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'd give Shawn Michaels a 7.
Yeah.
Something
So
like that.
I think an 8 is I would say that's a fair rating
Actually, I think I did
in
give
all
him an 8.
aspects.
But
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that.
No, I'm gonna give him a 9. I mean, the guy's a multiple-time New York Times bestseller. The man has transcended just being a wrestler. He's an author. He's a stand-up comedian.
Yes, he is now. Haven't seen any of his stuff. I probably should see that if it's funny.
I really do need to check that out too.
Funny. I watched YouTube videos of him. If I ever did get a chance to go see him perform live, I would jump at it. But yeah,
The man is one of the most beloved people of all time. I mean, no matter what,
Not just WWE,
people
but
will get
wrestling
behind him.
history.
Yeah, people will cheer this guy no matter what. It's almost impossible to make people boo this man now.
Yeah, good point. Lastly, we have credibility, and that is pretty much essentially a booking thing. Is this person a jobber? Is this person a legend, a main eventer, and all that? I give him a 6, and that's because of the way that WWE booked him. They never made him the flagship person, so I can't give him, an 8, 9, a 10, that kind of a thing.
But I give him more of a 7 rather than a 6. I think what he was able to make do with what he did, despite the booking, and make it work exceptionally well.
See, even though he's a multiple time champion, it was all kind of transitional and all that, so that loses some points to me. He does get the points for actually reaching that, especially considering how many hurdles he would have to go over. He doesn't have that sex appeal and all that other kind of stuff that Vince McMahon goes for. So he made do with
What he
a
had,
lot of struggles and all
like
that.
legit.
But then
Yeah.
they still kept him at bay, so they still kept him around that level, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him a little bit higher. I'm going to give him an 8. The guy had a fantastic career for himself. I mean, he managed to make himself a very big star in a time where there was lots of huge stars. I mean, yeah, he was never that number one guy, but he wasn't the number one guy because there was the Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, and you
It's
could
kind of
arguably
tough to be
say
the number one
that
guy at that time.
at some point he was number 3. It was like kind of like him and Taker kind of swapped. He was
Yeah.
number 3 behind those two.
And I think he really earns a lot of credibility because in the twilight of his career and then after his career was over, he made the careers of 2 other people, 2 of the biggest stars of the last 15 years. That's Triple H and Edge. Triple H with their various matches we spoke before of the Hell in a Cell and the Street Fight, and Edge not just with their hardcore match they had at WrestleMania, but also I remember there was this one promo that I don't remember if it was on Raw or SmackDown, but Edge was going into a Hell in a Cell match with the Undertaker, and
SmackDown.
Mick Foley comes out and
That's not the Edge that I know.
yeah, you need to find that Edge, whatever the hell it was.
That was a damn good
chilling.
promo. Hence why he gets such a good rating for mic skills.
Yeah, so only Mick Foley could have really came out and cut that kind of promo.
Not to mention,
for
he
Edge
put
to
Orton
really
up on the
reinvigorate
pedestal
Edge.
rather early in his career too, during the whole Intercontinental title run.
Mm-hmm.
The Backlash Hardcore match.
But then the point that becomes a deduction out of that is if you're looking in a kayfabe sense of credibility, he lost all those matches. So you can't really go, well, he gives them really good matches and all that, but then the credibility is, but he still lost. This is like more of,
But
is he
it
going to go
meant
in and win
something
every
that
match?
it
Or is he
meant
going to,
something that he lost, though. It wasn't like, oh, it was just another guy that lost. It was like, whoa, they defeated that guy? Holy
Yeah,
crap.
it makes
Yeah.
the other guy look really good. So what does that say about the person that they're beating?
well,
People
if
take
you follow the
notice.
Triple H method, it's, I should lose once every 30 years and it'll mean a lot. But, so
He needs to be big and strong and
going around, it would
conquer
be,
everybody.
what was the highest that everybody said? An 8?
I gave 8.
Yeah,
I
I
said
would go for
7.
it. I would go for an 8 because, like I said, he was the third most popular guy in the company during the hottest point in the company's history. So, I mean, that's got to be worth something, right?
Well, the final scores. Now we kind of like, I'm adding a little bit more to mine and all that. So
I
my
actually calculated mine as we were going, so I'm all set for that.
so what was yours? What did it
Mine
happen to be?
I had to bring out a calculator for
total.
this shit.
Well, yeah, I actually had it all set and ready to go as we were going along. My final score was a 75 out of 100, so 3/4, pretty much.
And did you calculate yours, Brandon?
No,
Fuck that math thing. What are we doing?
I don't. I'm just talking. I'm supposed to pay attention and write shit down too. Jesus, what the fuck did I sign up for? Christ, me and Mike
I'm just an excellent multitasker. No, not really.
I'm just yeah. All right, now I got to go back and look at all the things, add it up.
Well, you see, you luckily I knew what Brandon was doing, and I wrote down all of his answers for him.
Oh, you're my fucking hero, Ferris
No.
Bueller. You're my hero.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, god damn it!
You kind of agreed for the most part with around Braden. And what was yours, Peyton? Do you know?
I was around the same. I had 78, so slightly above 3/4.
And I went with. Actually, I think I tallied this wrong on the website. Because I have 83, and I was lower for everything else. So I'm sure that was lower. But I'm upping it a little bit more and all that because some points that you guys made and all that. So I'm sure I would end up balancing out to somewhere around the 70 or so, which that is obviously a positive, and it should not be taken as any kind of a negative thing. I mean, a 70 out of 100 seems like it would be, oh, you're missing 30 points and all that, but I'm trying to make this almost fucking impossible to get a 100. So,
Yeah, I think it's fair.
that like Shawn
If you reach
Michaels.
70, that's damn good. Yeah.
Yeah, Shawn,
Yeah,
that's what it was. It was I'm looking at my old thing for Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels had an 83 out of 100. So if my favorite of all time, the person who I think is the very best of all time, still only could get an 80.
Doesn't get a fucking 100, it's almost damn near impossible to get.
Wait, guys, I want to change my score.
Four
Thinking back, 4 to 10.
4 to 10.
Oh yeah. Every match is everything 4 out of 10.
Right.
I could predict everything of everybody's career going into a match and just know that everything was going to happen that way.
So
Sure, Brett.
So I added up my score and I came up with a 70. So
we're all kind of around that sort of range. So.
Yeah, give or take.
And like we had said before, this is no like 30 points deducted out of Mick Foley and all that, like a shot against Mick Foley. This is, if we did somebody that we didn't like, you would totally see the the score difference, that 70s and 60s and all that. I mean, you put Snitsky on there, he's gonna get a fucking 4 or something like that.
But that wasn't his fault, though.
No, it wouldn't be.
That
was nice.
He did have those great teeth too.
Yeah, so Mick Foley the person, fucking 100 out of 100. Amazing guy. You can't say enough positive things about him.
Class act, stand up human being.
Right.
Above reproach. That's the word to use. Above reproach.
So tell us what your superstar scores are, and if you're more lenient, I'm sure he'll go a whole lot higher from us. If you're an even harsher judge than I am, I'm sure it'll be lower. And that kind of wraps us up for that. We don't really have too much else to talk about other than the scoring system, and that's actually ran pretty long. So that'll be it for part 3 for that kind of stuff, which means we move on to the plugs. Naturally, first off, Sign Me Up initiative. Bring a Smark Out Moment sign to any kind of a wrestling event and take a picture or a video of it. Send it to me, and I'll put it up on the show and on the website, and give you 1,000 praises and kiss your ass a whole bunch. Well, check out obviously all the other kind of stuff. My shit. I don't need to go too much into it. Braden.
Yeah, so subscribing to my YouTube channel, or at least checking it out. That's www.youtube.com/spoodbeast for all things Nintendo and Super Smash Bros. 4 and whatever happens to be going on in gaming that I feel like talking about, or that you'd like to see me talk about as well, because I take in video requests basically every week. So that's all fun. Follow me on Twitter. I'm sure he's going to have that posted, or at least like the name in the description for this video. You can also find it on the top of my channel as well.
Now that you're sure I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, just so I pointed that out. Yep, my bad. Visit, of course, Tony's website, fanboysanonymous.com, where myself and Tony and Payton and a whole bunch of other people also all post as contributors to content for it, and we just like people viewing our stuff basically. It is Tony's website, so it's nice to give a plug and hear it from somebody that's not him. Give a little shout out.
Not being promoting myself sadly in the corner, going, please go to the website, a mango tree on Facebook.
Yeah. So visit that site.
All right, Brandon.
Okay, well, mine might take a little longer. I do a sports talk radio show with my internet friends, and that airs every Wednesday on blogtalkradio.com, also on the dreamelite.com/radio, but I don't know if that site's still up and running, but just go to blogtalkradio.com. The name of the show is called Sportaholics Anonymous. Are you obsessed with sports? Do you yell at the television? Do you curse referees? Do you wake up drunk on a hangover because your team lost a big game? Then this show is for you. It's every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Daylight Savings Time. It's 2 hours of just unabashed mayhem. I really have a hard time keeping track of everything. It's hard work.
There's no math involved.
There's absolutely no math involved. Actually, my friend said it best. It's basically you're sitting around and listen to me get wasted for 2 hours. So that's basically what it is. That's Sportaholics Anonymous, dreamelite.com/radio, blogtalkradio.com, Sportaholics Anonymous, Dream Elite, yada, yada, yada. Keeping Kayfabe podcast that I do with Michael. I also am a part-time independent wrestling performer. I will be this Saturday, actually tomorrow, actually about a few scant 7 hours from now, I will be performing at SWA's Snow Brawl in Deer Park, Long Island, at the NYWC Sportatorium for the Suffolk Wrestling Alliance. Look them up on Facebook. Ace American Championship Entertainment. I do some commentary for there. They got a big show in Newark in April with Jay Lethal's going to be there. Azrael's going to be there. WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas is going to be there in action. Thank you, Michael.
I was hoping somebody would do that.
Yeah. Like I said, like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter at Brandon Allhope. I'm on Instagram. I'm on
Pinterest.
Fuck no, Pinterest is porn for white girls. Fuck that shit. I'm on Tout. I'm on Let's Date. I'm on fucking everything. You can find me. Just Google that shit.
And Payton.
Oh wow, I'm not on Let's Date.
But, you got to get on that shit, son. You can meet suicide girls. That's what it's all about for me.
Suicide girls, really?
For real. That's how I found out about it. They were advertising it. I was like, fuck, I could be suicide.
That's that iPhone app, right? Where it just like
yes,
people. I think I heard about it. Anyway, let me first plug Newbie TV. That's new-b.tv. This is a web channel that I am the executive producer of, where we do original content for nerds, geeks, dorks, whatever you want to call yourselves these days. We have original web series based on video games. We do playthroughs. We do reviews. We do all types of stuff for whatever type of entertainment you may be searching. We have some blogs too. Occasionally, I also write blogs for Fanboys Anonymous. My current one that I just put up was Top 7 TV Mustaches. So if you like facial hair, certainly check that one out there at fanboysanonymous.com. And
Stashing.
yeah.
Bro, if Tom Selleck wasn't at least in your top one, we're not friends anymore.
Well,
At least.
check that out to find out.
I might have to.
I think you'll be pleased.
I think I'm going to do it right now, actually.
And as Brendan said, we both come from the Keeping Kayfabe podcast, where wrestling is still real to us.
Damn it!
We take a little bit of a different approach to a wrestling podcast. We usually pick a match from wrestling's past, and we go in depth about the build to the match itself, the fallout from the match, and things along those lines. So if you're more a fan of the history of wrestling, certainly check out the Keeping Kayfabe podcast at keepingkayfabe.com. We're also on the Twitters, on the YouTubes, on the Facebooks, and on iTunes. And I believe that's all we got. Thanks for having us on, Anthony.
For Brandon and for Braden and for Peyton, that is episode 72. So, check out all that kind of stuff that we just went over. And check out episode 73 coming next week, which is going to be, as I mentioned before, the typical Ask Him, the hot tags, and breaking down the WWE Hall of Fame past, present, and future. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out. Adios, everybody. See you next week.
So this is the outro. It's not the intro song. This is the end of the podcast, so you probably should stop listening.
It just really makes you see how terrible that song is. I never even thought about that until tonight, and then I'm like, oh god, yeah, that song sucks dick.
Awful. Awful. That makes me wish Jeff Hardy wrote the song.
Oh.